As an explorer, I've encountered numerous wonders and terrors in the wild, but nothing compared to the fear I faced on Java Island in Indonesia. Hidden within the dense and whispering jungles, there lurked a carnivorous plant known to locals as the Cannibal Demon King. It wasn't an ordinary predator. It was a man-eating tree, a three-dimensional nightmare composed of muscles and chlorophyll. The Cannibal Demon King was nature's slime masterpiece, made up of countless supple branches, writhing and weaving through the air. These branches were not mere appendages of its body, but sensitive instruments of death, trembling at the slightest touch. On a stifling day, surrounded by the heavy cloak of humid air, I found myself drawn to the center of Java's lush, deceptive paradise, seeking rumors of this entity that devoured living beings. My guide, a local with deep-set eyes and an intimate understanding of every mood of the jungle, refused to enter the area rumored to be the lair of the Cannibal Demon King. "It is a place of silence and sudden screams," he whispered, a chill of unease in his otherwise steady voice, driven by curiosity and the insatiable urge of an explorer to discover. I ignored his advice and pressed on. As I delved deeper into thorny thickets, the air grew thick, as if passing through a living, breathing entity. It was here, in a clearing that seemed to swallow sound, that I first laid eyes on the Cannibal Demon King, a bizarre sight to behold. Its branches spread wide, like an alluring invitation, a tree's mouth waiting for its next meal. Heeding the locals' warnings, I approached cautiously, each step measured carefully under the watchful eyes of the unseen jungle dwellers. Then something incredible happened. A small mammal, perhaps a jungle rat, startled by my passage, leapt right into the embrace of the Cannibal Demon King. With a tremor that ran through the very earth, the branches came alive, snatching the creature with terrifying agility. What followed seemed a grotesque dance of nature, as the branches secreted a viscous digestive fluid, akin to the saliva of some monstrous beast. The process was remarkably efficient. Within minutes, nothing was left of the animal but a few indigestible fragments, nonchalantly discarded onto the forest floor by the tree. Then, as if suddenly coming to life, the Cannibal Demon King swiftly returned to its deceptive calm, its branches slowly resuming their welcoming posture. Watching this scene, a cold fear solidified in my stomach. The Cannibal Demon King was not a myth but a grim reality, a reminder of nature's indifference to the hierarchy of life. With respect for the island's lore newly ingrained and a fear for my future explorations firmly rooted, I began to retreat, the slight rustling of the Cannibal Demon King's branches accompanying my hurried steps. This encounter left an indelible mark on me, a reminder of the hidden fears and wonders of the world. A story I share with mixed feelings of awe and dread. The Cannibal Demon King, that man-eating tree of Java, still resides there, in the hot embrace of the jungle, waiting patiently and silently for the next unwitting creature to enter its domain. As moments passed, I realized I was more than a mere observer. Venturing deeper into the territory of the Cannibal Demon King, an indescribable premonition sent chills down my spine. I was not alone. My team, a group of brave but inexperienced explorers, followed in my footsteps. Their curiosity for this unknown world was as strong as mine, but they were blissfully unaware of the impending danger. Our movements miraculously went unnoticed by the Cannibal Demon King until one careless moment changed everything. Jack, my second in command, a young man brimming with enthusiasm for each expedition, came too close accidentally. As his hand brushed one of the outstretched branches, the Cannibal Demon King burst into life as if electrified. Its branches, like tentacles, swiftly entwined around Jack. Despite our desperate efforts to pull him from death's embrace, the Cannibal Demon King's strength was overwhelming and our efforts futile. As the Cannibal Demon King's branches began to secrete that deadly fluid, we watched helplessly as life was swiftly drained from Jack. The horror of the scene sent the others into a panic, and it seemed our fear only invigorated the Cannibal Demon King, making it more active and lethal. We ran, but the Cannibal Demon King seemed to sense every move. Its branches, like tentacles directed by a malevolent intelligence, anticipated and blocked our escape. One by one, My teammates were sacrificed. Each life lost weighed heavily on my heart, their screams echoing in the dense forest, the soundtrack to this nightmare. Fleeing, I felt an unprecedented sense of loneliness and fear. My steps were heavy, each breath like inhaling the jungle's moisture. The threat of the Cannibal Demon King loomed over me like a dark cloud. Its branches were not just a physical entanglement, but a chain in the depths of my soul. I desperately recalled the advice my companions had given and my experiences from previous explorations. Helen, the ecologist in our group, had mentioned that plants, while sensitive, had their limitations. Her words echoed in my mind, sparking a glimpse of hope. Vigorous movement and struggle might incite the Cannibal Demon King to tighten its grip, but if I could slow my breathing, adjust my pace, I might be less likely to be detected. With that thought, I began to mimic the movements of other creatures in the jungle. I made my movements softer, like leaves swaying in a gentle breeze, and I suppressed my breath to blend with the sounds around me. In the brief lull of the Cannibal Demon King's assault, I silently slid past the dense network of branches. But the cost was heavy. During this process, one of my legs was unfortunately grazed by one of the Cannibal Demon King's tendrils. Not only was blood being lost, but the terrifying digestive enzymes began to corrode my wound. The pain was like a brand searing into my muscles, and I knew I couldn't stop. Otherwise, I would wait for death in agony. By a stream in the woods, I washed the wound with the cool water, using the cold flow and soil to dampen the pain and spread of the injury. The gravel and the rushing water wounded my hands, but that was a small price to pay compared to the blood loss and pain. Finally, after what seemed an eternity of frantic running, I saw the edge of the jungle's sky. I understood the fragility of life and the preciousness of freedom. When I finally stepped out of the thickets and returned to open land, my emotions were indescribable. That moment of freedom had come at the cost of lost companions and a near brush with death. Lying in a hospital bed, my leg wrapped in thick bandages, the wound still throbbing subtly, served as a reminder of the harrowing ordeal's reality. My heart was filled with survivor's guilt and deep contemplation of the future. Although I had won my life in the struggle with the Cannibal Demon King, it was a Pyrrhic victory. The lives of brave companions were lost, and the once warm atmosphere of the expedition team was gone. After a long period of rehabilitation, my physical wounds gradually healed, but the trauma within my heart was far from easily mended. I was often plagued by the scenes of that day, the nightmares replaying. The screams of my companions, the suffocating grip of the Cannibal Demon King's branches, and the jungle stained with blood and pain. These memories, like a slow poison, seeped into every moment I closed my eyes. Returning to daily life, I found myself changed. Once an explorer filled with a thirst for the unknown and curiosity about the world. Now, walking down the street, the sight of trees waving their branches stirred an inexplicable panic within me. I began to avoid any activity related to the jungle or natural exploration, and even started studying botany in an attempt to understand the Cannibal Demon King from a scientific perspective, to overcome my fear. This process was long and difficult. Through studying the Cannibal Demon King and other plants with defense mechanisms, I gradually learned that nature's cruelty and beauty are just two sides of its survival law. I found strength in knowledge and began to interpret my past experiences. These plants are not malevolent. They simply exist in their own way. At the same time, I began to engage in public lectures and write articles to share my experiences and research findings on the Cannibal Demon King, hoping to raise public awareness and respect for the natural world, especially those underexplored and potentially dangerous beings. My story is not only about survival, but also a call for respect and understanding towards nature. My experiences resonated with many people, and some started to support me. Other witnesses of these peculiar plants began to share their stories with me. We formed a small community dedicated to researching peculiar plants around the world and spreading respect and awareness for their conservation. Although I'm no longer the fearless explorer venturing into jungles, I found a new mission: to explore the path of harmonious coexistence between humans and nature, guided by science and education. I firmly believe that only through understanding and respect can humanity coexist peacefully with other life forms on this planet. As time went by, I learned to accept the lessons of that tragedy and turn them into motivation to move forward. Although the scar on my body reminds me of past horrors, it is also a mark of my growth, reminding me that in this complex and ever-changing world, only reverence and learning can take us further.